The neural bridge. The humming of laboratory equipment filled the basement of the Quantum Neuroscience Institute as Rihanna Walsh stared at her monitor, her eyes reflecting the cascade of brainwave patterns scrolling across the screen. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and coffee cups littered her workstation, testament to another all-night session analyzing the anomalous signals she'd discovered in her test subjects. "This can't be right," she muttered, adjusting her wire-rimmed glasses. The patterns she was seeing didn't match any known neural activity. They were too structured, too precise, almost like a coded message hidden within the normal chaos of human consciousness. The door to the lab hissed open, and her research partner, Marcus Chen, entered carrying fresh coffee. "Still chasing ghosts in the machine?" he asked, setting a cup beside her keyboard. "They're not ghosts," Rihanna replied, zooming in on a particular sequence. "Look at this. These patterns are appearing across all test subjects, regardless of age, gender, or neurological condition. It's like someone embedded a signal directly into human consciousness." Marcus leaned closer, his usual skepticism giving way to curiosity. "That's impossible. Neural patterns are unique to each individual. There can't be a universal." His voice trailed off as Rihanna pulled up a three-dimensional rendering of the signal. It pulsed with an eerily regular rhythm, like a beacon calling out to something or someone. "I need to show you something else," Rihanna said, glancing nervously at the lab's security cameras before pulling a small device from her desk drawer. It was roughly the size of a smartphone, cobbled together from various electronic components. "I built this last week. It's designed to amplify and decode the signal." Marcus took a step back. "Rihanna, if this is what I think it is, we need to inform the board. This kind of unauthorized research could get us both fired." "I know," she finished, "but I have to know what it means. These signals, they're not random noise. They're not glitches. They're messages, Marcus. And they're getting stronger." Before Marcus could respond, Rihanna activated the device. A low hum filled the room, and the fluorescent lights flickered. On her monitor, the neural patterns suddenly aligned into a coherent sequence, and for a brief moment, both scientists heard something that couldn't possibly exist. Words, in a language that felt ancient and new at the same time, speaking directly into their minds. "We are not alone," Rihanna whispered, her hands trembling as she recorded the data. "And whatever's out there, they've been watching us, studying us, maybe even changing us." The implications were staggering. If she was right, it meant that human consciousness itself had been subtly altered, perhaps over thousands of years, to receive these signals. But why? And more importantly, what would happen when humanity finally learned to send signals back? As if in answer to her unspoken question, the device suddenly sparked and went dark. But in the split second before it failed, Rihanna saw something in the data stream. Coordinates pointing to a location deep in the Pacific Ocean. "Marcus," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "I need you to help me build something bigger. Something that can broadcast as well as receive." She turned to face him, her expression determined. "Whatever's out there, they've been waiting for us to evolve enough to understand their message. I think it's time we answered back." Marcus ran a hand through his silver-streaked hair, conflict evident on his face. Finally, he nodded. "The board meets next week to review our funding. We have until then to either prove you're right or—" He didn't need to finish the sentence. They both knew that if they were wrong, their careers in neuroscience were over. But Rihanna wasn't wrong. As she began gathering components for a larger version of her device, she felt the signal pulsing in her own mind, stronger than ever. Humanity was about to make contact with something beyond their understanding, and she would be the bridge between two species separated by light years and consciousness itself. What she didn't know, couldn't know, was that answering that signal would change not just her life, but the very nature of human existence itself. The neural bridge was about to open, and what waited on the other side would challenge everything humanity thought they knew about consciousness, reality, and their place in the cosmos. echoes of the stars. The first transmission came at midnight. Riona sat in the makeshift lab she and Marcus had assembled in an abandoned warehouse near the coast. Their new device, a complex array of neural amplifiers and quantum processors, hummed with potential as they prepared to broadcast the signal they'd spent weeks refining. Power level stable, Marcus reported, monitoring the complex web of equipment. Neural interface is online. Are you sure about this, Riona? She nodded, adjusting the electrodes attached to her temples. The coordinates in the signal are clear. Something's waiting for us out there, 3 kilometers beneath the Pacific. We need to make contact. The device powered up with a low whine, and Riona felt the familiar tingle of the neural interface activating. But this time was different. Instead of just receiving the alien patterns, they were broadcasting her own consciousness, amplified and focused like a beam into the depths of the ocean. At first, there was nothing but the static of her own thoughts. Then, like a door opening in her mind, she felt something else, something vast and ancient and utterly alien. Contact, she whispered, her voice trembling. Marcus, I'm getting. The world exploded in light and color. In her mind's eye, she saw beings of pure energy, their forms shifting and flowing like liquid starlight. They called themselves the Viridians, and they had been waiting for humanity for a very long time. We hear you, child of Earth. The thoughts came in waves of color and emotion rather than words. You have finally learned to reach across the void. Why? Riona managed to ask through the overwhelming sensation of alien consciousness. Why did you plant those signals in our minds? The answer came in a flood of images, a galaxy teeming with life, but threatened by something darker than the space between stars. The Viridians were not the only ones watching Earth. Something else had been waiting, growing stronger, preparing to consume not just humanity's bodies, but their very consciousness. We are guardians, the Viridians explained. We saw potential in your species, a unique neural pattern that could evolve into something powerful, something that could help us fight what comes. Marcus's voice seemed distant as he called out readings from the equipment. Neural activity off the charts. Whatever you're connecting with, it's changing the fundamental structure of your brainwaves. The Viridians continued, showing Riona visions of what they called the void minds, beings that fed on consciousness itself, reducing entire civilizations to empty shells. They had been moving through the galaxy for millennia, consuming and corrupting everything in their path. Earth was next. Your species has something unique, the Viridians explained, a capacity for neural adaptation we have never seen before. The signals we embedded were not just messages. They were preparations, helping your minds evolve to resist what comes. Riona felt cold fear grip her heart. How long do we have? They are already here, came the response, hidden in the dark spaces between thoughts. But you are not ready. Your minds are still too fragmented, too individual. You must learn to join, to share consciousness as we do. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the warehouse. Marcus cursed, rushing to check the readings. Something's wrong. Power fluctuations across the grid. And these energy signatures, they're not coming from the ocean anymore. Riona felt it too. A creeping darkness at the edges of her consciousness, like static trying to drown out the Viridian's light. The void minds had detected their transmission. We must sever the connection. The Viridians warned. They will trace it back to you. But before we go, take this. Riona's mind flooded with information, schematics, equations, neural patterns she barely understood. The knowledge burned itself into her consciousness as the connection began to fade. Build what we have shown you. The Viridian's final message came. Unite your minds. It is your only hope. The connection severed with a psychic shock that sent Riona reeling. She ripped off the electrodes, gasping for air as reality reasserted itself. Marcus was at her side instantly, helping her up as the equipment around them sparked and died. What happened? He demanded. What did you see? Ryona's hands shook as she began sketching equations on a nearby whiteboard. We're not alone, Marcus. And we're not ready for what's coming. But the Viridians showed me something. A way to merge human consciousness on a massive scale. A neural network that could unite humanity against what's coming. She turned to him, her eyes wide with the weight of what she'd learned. We need to build it. Now. Because the void minds aren't just coming. They're already here. And they're hungry. Outside, the city lights flickered as if in response to her words. And in the dark spaces between thoughts, something ancient and terrible began to stir. The memory protocol. The underground facility buzzed with nervous energy as Ryona and Marcus worked frantically to construct the neural network the Viridians had shown them. Teams of scientists and engineers, hastily assembled after they'd presented their evidence to the Institute's board, moved with purpose through the maze of equipment and cables. The quantum matrix is stable, Ryona announced, checking the holographic displays floating above her workstation. The schematics the Viridians had planted in her mind were slowly taking physical form, a massive array of neural interfaces and quantum processors designed to link human minds together. Power consumption is still too high, Marcus responded, frowning at his own readings. If we try to scale this up to even 100 people, we'll blow half the power grid. But they didn't have time for perfection. Reports had been coming in from around the globe. Mysterious power outages, people falling into inexplicable comas, and strange distortions in electronic communications. The void minds were making their presence known, testing humanity's defenses. Dr. Jun Nakamura, their lead quantum physicist, approached with a tablet displaying new calculations. I think we've solved the power problem, she said, her usual calm demeanor showing signs of strain. But there's something else. These neural patterns we're seeing in the test subjects, they're changing. Ryoma moved to examine the data, her heart sinking. The volunteers who'd agreed to test the prototype neural network were showing unprecedented changes in their brain structure. It was as if their minds were evolving at an accelerated rate, adapting to accommodate the merged consciousness the device created. Is it dangerous? Marcus asked, voicing the concern they all shared. Unknown, Jun replied. But it's irreversible. Once someone connects to the network, their neural architecture is permanently altered. Before Ryona could respond, the facility's lights flickered and a low hum filled the air. The kind of hum she'd felt when she first made contact with the Viridians, but this was different. Darker. Colder. They're here, she whispered, just as alarms began blaring throughout the complex. Security feeds showed chaos erupting in the city above. People were collapsing in the streets, their minds under attack from an invisible force. The void minds had begun their assault. We need to activate the network now, Ryona declared, moving toward the central interface chamber. We can't wait for more testing. Marcus grabbed her arm. Ryona, we don't know what full integration will do to you. The neural changes, the risk of psychological damage. We don't have a choice, she cut him off. The Viridians showed me what happens if we fail. The void minds won't just kill us. They'll consume everything that makes us human. Our memories, our consciousness, our very essence. Jun's tablet beeped with urgent notifications. Neural attacks spreading globally. Major cities are reporting mass casualties. Whatever these things are, they're getting stronger. Ryona broke free from Marcus's grip and stepped into the interface chamber. Neural probes descended from above, connecting to the ports they'd surgically implanted in her spine weeks ago. Start the sequence, she ordered, and get ready to bring the other volunteers online. As the system powered up, Ryona felt her consciousness expanding, reaching out through the quantum network to touch the minds of the other test subjects. It was overwhelming. 1,000 thoughts, memories, and emotions flooding into her awareness at once. But something else was happening. The neural changes weren't just allowing them to share thoughts. They were creating something new, a collective consciousness that was more than the sum of its parts. Through their merged awareness, she could feel the void minds more clearly now. They were vast and ancient, their hunger infinite. More power, she gasped through gritted teeth. We need to push harder. Marcus and Jun worked frantically at their stations, pushing the system beyond its designed limits. In the interface chamber, Rayona's body arched as neural energy coursed through her mind becoming the focal point for humanity's first true hive consciousness. Through their shared awareness, she could see the truth the Viridians had hidden from her. The neural network wasn't just a defense. It was an evolution. Humanity's next step. The only way to survive what was coming was to become something entirely new. As the power built to critical levels, Rayona made a choice. With all her remaining strength, she reached out to every mind connected to the network and pushed them past the final barrier. In that moment, she felt them all transcend their individual consciousness, becoming part of something greater. The memory protocol had begun, and there was no going back. Humanity's fight for survival would be won or lost not with weapons, but with the very essence of what made them human. Their shared consciousness, their collective will to survive. And in the darkness between thoughts, the void minds sensed the change and prepared for war. Quantum resonance. The merged consciousness of humanity crackled through the neural network like lightning across a darkened sky. Through their shared awareness, Rayona could feel millions of minds slowly awakening to their connection, each one adding to the collective strength they would need to face what was coming. Neural synchronization at 67% and climbing, Jun reported, her fingers flying across holographic controls. But we're seeing resistance. Some minds are fighting the merger. From within the interface chamber, Rayona could feel that resistance, the natural human instinct to remain individual, separate. But she could also feel something else, the void minds probing their defenses, testing the boundaries of their shared consciousness. They're afraid, she realized, the thought echoing through the network. They've never encountered anything like this before. Marcus monitored the power fluctuations with growing concern. The grid can't handle much more of this. We need to stabilize the connection or... His warning was cut short by a psychic assault that shook the entire facility. The void minds had launched their first real attack, and it was devastating. Across the globe, unprotected humans collapsed as their consciousness was torn from their bodies. Through the network, Rayona felt each loss like a physical blow. But the shared consciousness was learning, adapting. Each attack made them stronger, more unified. The neural changes the Viridians had engineered were accelerating, allowing human minds to merge more completely than ever thought possible. New signal detected, Jun announced suddenly. It's coming from deep space. The Viridians, their consciousness touched the network like a ray of light piercing darkness. You have begun the transformation, their thoughts resonated through the collective. But it is not enough. The final stage requires sacrifice. Rayona understood. The network needed a focal point, a single consciousness willing to become the anchor for millions of others, someone to hold the collective together against the void mind's attacks. No, Marcus said, reading her intention through their shared link. There has to be another way. But Rayona had already made her decision. Through the network, she reached out to every connected mind, sharing her plan, her determination. The response was overwhelming. Millions of consciousness supporting her, strengthening her. Full power to the interface chamber, she commanded. Prepare for final convergence. As the system powered up, Rayona felt her individual consciousness beginning to dissolve, becoming one with the network itself. The boundaries between self and other, between individual and collective, blurred and faded. The void minds sensed what was happening and launched a massive assault. Reality itself seemed to warp as they tore through the barriers between dimensions, their hunger threatening to devour everything. But they were too late. The transformation was already beginning. Through their shared consciousness, humanity fought back. Every memory, every emotion, every spark of human will and determination became a weapon against the darkness. The void minds found themselves facing not billions of separate minds to consume, but a single, unified consciousness that burned brighter than any star. In the interface chamber, Rayona's physical form began to change. her body adapting to channel the immense power of the collective. The neural changes spread through the network, transforming everyone connected to it. Humanity was becoming something new, something that existed as much in thought as in flesh. The final battle for Earth's consciousness had begun, and its outcome would determine not just humanity's fate, but the very nature of consciousness itself in the universe. The void minds reeled before the onslaught of unified human will, but they were ancient and powerful. The war was far from over, and the price of victory would be higher than anyone could have imagined. Through it all, Rihanna remained the anchor. Her consciousness spread across millions of minds, holding them together as they fought for survival. In that moment of perfect unity, she finally understood what the Viridians had seen in humanity, not just the capacity for neural evolution, but the ability to transform adversity into transcendence. The quantum resonance built to impossible levels as humanity prepared for their final stand against the darkness that threatened to consume them all. Synchronicity. Through the quantum neural network, humanity's unified consciousness burned like a beacon across dimensions. The void mind's assault had reached its peak, their ancient hunger clashing against humanity's evolving collective will. In the heart of the interface chamber, what remained of Riona's physical form pulsed with energy as she channeled the combined strength of millions of minds. The transformation was nearly complete. Humanity was becoming something that existed between thought and matter, consciousness and quantum reality. Energy readings are off the scale, Jun called out, her voice steady despite the chaos. The network is generating more power than we thought possible. Marcus watched the readings with a mixture of awe and fear. Through their shared consciousness, he could feel Riona's presence spread across the network, holding disparate minds together, guiding their evolution. But he could also feel her slipping away, becoming something beyond human. The void minds launched another assault, their darkness threatening to overwhelm the network. But this time, something was different. As their consciousness touched the unified human mind, they encountered something they'd never faced before: empathy. Through the network, humanity could feel the void mind's ancient pain, their eternal hunger. They weren't just destroyers. They were lost, broken fragments of the universe's first consciousness, driven mad by eons of isolation. We understand now, Riona's thoughts echoed through the collective. And we can help you heal. The revelation spread through the network like wildfire. The Viridians had prepared humanity not just for battle, but for something far more profound: the ability to heal consciousness itself. The quantum resonance shifted, its frequency changing from defense to harmony. Millions of human minds reached out not to fight the void minds, but to embrace them, to share the one thing they'd lost: connection. The power signature is changing, Jun reported, her eyes wide. It's stabilizing. Through their shared awareness, humanity offered the void minds something they hadn't experienced since the universe was young: belonging. The darkness that had threatened to consume them became a part of them, transformed by the simple yet profound power of human consciousness. The transformation rippled across dimensions. The void minds, ancient and terrible as they were, found themselves changed by contact with humanity's unified mind. Their hunger became purpose, their isolation became connection. In the interface chamber, Riona's consciousness expanded one final time, touching not just human minds, but reaching across space and time to connect with something even the Viridians hadn't foreseen: a new kind of universal consciousness, born from the merger of human empathy and ancient cosmic awareness. The price was high. Those connected to the network would never be purely human again, but they had become something more: a bridge between flesh and thought, matter and mind, past and future. As the new consciousness stabilized, the Viridians made contact one final time. "You have exceeded all expectations," their thoughts resonated through the collective. "You have not just survived. You have shown us a new way forward." The neural interface powered down slowly, leaving behind a permanently altered humanity. Though they could return to their individual forms, they would forever remain connected, part of something greater than themselves. Marcus approached the interface chamber as Rihanna's consciousness settled back into her transformed body. Her eyes, now shimmering with quantum energy, opened slowly. "Did we succeed?" she whispered, though she already knew the answer through their shared awareness. "We did more than that," Marcus replied, helping her stand. "We changed the rules of consciousness itself." Through the network, they could feel humanity beginning to explore their new existence, learning to balance individual identity with collective awareness. The void minds, now transformed, would become their teachers, sharing the wisdom of eons while learning the power of human connection. The threat was over, but the journey was just beginning. Humanity had not just survived, they had transcended, becoming something that would reshape the very fabric of consciousness across the cosmos. And somewhere in the quantum spaces between thoughts, Rihanna's consciousness danced with ancient minds, teaching them to remember what it meant to be whole again. The end was just another beginning, and the universe would never be the same.